Hello, BookTube. Well, once again, we have westering light here, but in my own defense, today's light has been as dodgy as could be. There have been pitch dark thunderstorms popping up out of nowhere all day, and then they're here for 15 minutes of downpours, and then they go away, and it's bright blue skies again. And that's been happening nonstop. I mean, that's not my main excuse, of course. My main excuse is actually an indictment, because I have been spending most of the day sprawled on the couch reading and writing. but nevertheless, we couldn't go without mail. I'm afraid today will not be a 6-video day. Yesterday was a 6-video day. But today, I'm afraid not. I've had a lot of stuff to do. There's a chance of company tonight, actual in-person company. And on top of that, I have an unexpected reviewing assignment. And you might think, well, that's not much of a problem. You're the fastest gun in the West. This is true. I am the fastest reviewer currently alive. all of my equally fast colleagues have one by one been gathered to that great book expo in the sky. Only I am left. I am the fastest gun east of the Pecos. But this is a particular kind of review that you can't fly through. You can't just pontificate through it. It's a sensitive review. I have to be sensitive about it for a whole bunch of different reasons, some of them legitimate. So it's going to take me some time. So I'm afraid it's going to be a 2-video day. but as far as videos go, we'll stick around. So we've got a normal-sized group of books here. We'll just see what they have. But I guess what I'm saying is that I saw a couple of videos yesterday, one on AuthorTube and one on how you read, what the role of reading is in your life. I'm dying to make response videos to both of them. They were both fantastic. And also Friday Reads, a staple of BookTube. I don't think I'm going to be able to do any of those things. Otherwise, this would have been a 6-video day. But we'll do the library tour, and we'll do mail. So let's see what this first one is. There are no boxes this time around, but some of these things have an appealing weight to them, so there might be something of substance here. Okay, the very first one is definitely that. Oh wow, I did not know this was coming. This comes out in November, late November. Wow. Okay, this is David Stahel. This is Retreat from Moscow, a new history of Germany's winter campaign, 1941 to 1942. We're going to get better. Oh yeah, that's a little bit better, isn't it? Retreat from Moscow, nice thick thing. Good Lord, did not know about this. Over the past decade, historian David Stahel has been publishing a series of authoritative, gripping, expertly researched, and myth-busting books about the Eastern Front. I know this guy's name from somewhere. Oh, that's going to drive me crazy. Let's look at the author bio before we move on. What did he write that I read? Battle of Moscow and Operation Typhoon. Operation Typhoon as well. I've read this guy before. He is very good. The recent received wisdom about this period, which saw the German forces cede ground to the Soviet Union that they had achieved throughout the fall of 1941, is that it constituted Germany's first defeat and was a key turning point in the war. As the author convincingly demonstrates in his nuanced book, however, the reality was more complicated. While it's true that this period saw Germany in retreat, and the winter certainly took its toll on German soldiers and command, they ultimately surrendered less than 10% of the ground they had gained over the previous 6 months, and suffered far fewer casualties than the Soviet forces. The author estimates that Soviet losses during the period were more than 6 times that of the Germans. In Stahel's narrative, Germany's overextension and their failure to deliver a knockout blow during the previous summer and fall, in fact, constituted a real setback, and the retreat of the winter was in some ways a strategic correction. Okay, all right. So he is going to take on a bit of received opinion in this book. That's always fun. That's always fun. I don't know. All right, I don't know what kind of case you can make that this was not a massive defeat, a massive setback, and a massive defeat that originated in a stunning act of irrationality. I don't know what kind of case you can make for that, but I trust this author, and I can't wait to see. So that's why I love reading nonfiction. That's why I love it. Anyway, let's move on to this next one. It's in these vacuum pressed books. Okay, this is a novel. This is Ellie and the Harp Maker by Hazel Pryor. It's got a pheasant on the cover. And the author is a harpist who lives in Exmoor, England. Originally from Oxford, she fell in love with the harp as a student and now performs regularly. And this is her first novel, which is about harps. Okay, so that could be a little worrying right there. Let's see. It's kind of an attractive cover. Let's see here. This comes out in the first week of August. And it is what? It is the unexpected love story between a housewife and a harp maker. Written by a professional harpist turned novelist. Okay. Ellie is a lonely, unsatisfied housewife searching for her purpose. She composes poetry and spends her days in an unhappy marriage, quietly dreaming of rewriting her own life story. Then she meets Dan. Dan is a harp maker, living alone, creating beautifully hand-carved instruments inside his barn in the English countryside, probably Exmoor. Dan is different. He prefers to spend his time in solitude, tucked away in his workshop where he doesn't have to interact with other people. Okay, all right, so the novel alternates in narrative viewpoint chapters between the two of those throughout the book. Okay. All right. So it's a novel coming out in August. I will get to it. I will get right to it. Can't help, for me, it can't help but feel like a little bit of a letdown after a gigantic history of Germany attacking Russia. But oh no. Okay. All right. This is the finished copy. It comes out in any day now. This is The Veil Conjectures by Karen Olson. The subtitle is On Math and the Pursuit of the Unknown. We saw this already. This is the finished copy. It's another math book. Only now it has tons and tons of author and publisher blurbs. Okay. It's okay. So it's all blurbs. It doesn't. They have sacrificed any description of the book for blurbs. Karen Olson's stirring and unusual third book tells the story of the brilliant Veil siblings, Simone, a philosopher, mystic, and social activist, and Andre, an influential mathematician, while also recalling the years Olson spent studying math. So she's part of their story? No, or is it just that everything has to be autofiction now? Everything has to be... The author is now the point of everything. I'll try to enthuse on that subject off camera, since you've heard me on it. No, ad nauseum. Right, so let's move on. Let's move on to this next one here. What is this? Goodness gracious, it's historical fiction. Judging by the pearls, I would say it's probably going to appeal to Olive. Let's see. This is Lake Union Publishing, which is a historical mystery imprint of Amazon. And this is called Relative Fortunes by Marlo Ben. This is a Julia Kidd novel. I think we saw this already. This is due August 1st. And the year is 1924, and the women's suffrage movement is celebrating a hard-won right to vote and fighting for still more liberties when 24-year-old American Julia Kidd arrives back in New York City after a stay in England. A voracious bibliophile, Julia dreams of publishing books under her own imprint and cares little for politics until the death of a high-profile suffragette pulls her right into the heart of the women's movement. So this is a murder mystery set at the height of the Jazz Age in Manhattan. And it sounds like it's going to have a literary bent to it, so that's great. I have an advanced copy of this. I know I do, and I haven't got to it. And after this, I know on these mail hauls, often one of the little side entertainments is trying to figure out which of the books I'm going to read immediately. I don't do long, stagnating, dust-covered TBRs. I don't do anything like that. My reading is very active. And this actually wins out over anything else so far, even the World War II book. The World War II book comes out in November, so I really can't justify reading it this far ahead of time. But after the sensitive review that I have to do, the sensitive thing that I have to do, that I have to write, is going to be a little draining and a little frustrating. And after that, this is exactly the sort of thing I'm going to want to read. So this actually goes to the front of the list for tonight. But we have a couple more, so it might get bumped. You never know. What is this next one? Oh my. Okay. This is by Robert Wilson, who is the founding literary editor of Civilization, editor of Preservation, and since 2014 has edited The American Scholar. All three won National Magazine Awards during his tenure. He has been the book critic for USA Today and an editor at the Washington Post. And this is his new book from Simon & Schuster, which comes out, oh God, it's loaded with blurbs. Fantastic. This comes out in early August, the first week of August. And it is review copy not for resale, An American Life. Who's An American Life of? I'm assuming that all the rest of the stuff on the cover is just small print, because this is by far the most noticeable thing on the cover and cannot physically be removed. So I'm assuming that's the title, but who's the American Life? Oh, it's P.T. Barnum. This is a book about P.T. Barnum. Despite the title, review copy not for resale, this is a book about P.T. Barnum. And the pub sheet says it's the first major one in a generation. Over 125 years after his death, P.T. Barnum's name still inspires wonder. Oh my God, is my light fading? Or am I? After all, he was the greatest showman the world has ever seen, the co-creator of Barnum and Bailey Circus, and the man who made worldwide sensations of Jumbo the Elephant, General Tom Thumb, and the Swedish Nightingale, Jenny Lind. He was the champion of wonder, joy, and trickery, mostly trickery. A genius whose allure has captured the American imagination for over a century. From birth to death, Phineas Taylor Barnum repeatedly reinvented himself. He was also the subject of a noticeable flop of a movie starring Hugh Jackman and Zac Efron. And this book, the pub sheet says that the title was originally Barnum, An American Life, restores the man to his rightful place in the history of 19th century America as a representation of many of the best and a few of the worst characteristics of his young nation. Oh, that ought to be reversed. Come on. This is 2019. He had living people as circus exhibits. That ought to be reversed. A few of the best and many of the worst. You should just reverse that. There's no way to swim upstream. What he did, he had human beings as circus exhibits. That is not rehabilitatable. You cannot rehabilitate that. You just have to deal with it. I'm not against a big new biography, but you can't say many of the best and a few of the worst characteristics. You have to reverse that. Barnum's reputation today has fallen so far that his name often evokes comparisons to scoundrels and politicians who lie shamelessly to the public, to deceptive advertisers, and to sleight-of-hand businessmen. But this doesn't do justice to the full story of who he was. Sure it does. Sure it does. You're a P.T. Barnum. That is a term now in common parlance. It means you are a bunkum salesman. It means you're filching the subject out of I give them just what they want for just $2. Just $2. Well, that's my job. But for your me pull you, I'd pay $3, $4, $5, because I've never seen anything like it that's alive. He was involved in his community. Oh, for peace sake! All right, I can't go on. And I'm going to have to hope. This is just a pub sheet, right? Remember that we know that from age on. A million mail hall openings here. This is just the pub sheet. I have to hope that the actual book, which for inexplicable reasons has been retitled Review Copy Not for Resale, is better than this. I don't want to hear about P.T. Barnum being a worthy community member. Just celebrate his venality. Just do that. But if I remember correctly, this author, Robert Wilson, has done work that I really liked. So I have no doubt that he will do that in this book. Okay, and this is coming up. This is in early August. It does not bump the murder mystery. And then we have the last one, and then we'll be done. One last book, and then I have to get going. I have to disappear into tedium, into a little bit of tedium. I will do tedious work. It needs to be done correctly. It needs to be done right the first time. It's too late. It's a surprise assignment. It can't be handed to anybody else that this editor has within her reach, because she'll have to, as she puts it, she'll have to work with them, and there's no time. She needs clean prose. So I have to do it. I'm perfectly happy to do it, and the money's good. But when I'm done, I'm not only going to want a palate cleanser, a nice murder mystery palate cleanser, but I'm also going to be thankful, once again, for the millionth time, that I have a venue of my own, where I do not have to be careful or sensitive, where I can just call a book a giant pile of poop, if that's what it is. But anyway, what's this last one? Oh my. Oh, we end on a somber note. Good Lord. All right, this is early November. This is by Sarah Wagner, and it is What Remains, Bringing America's Missing Home from the Vietnam War. Good Lord. The author has written widely on war and its devastation in both the United States and Bosnia and Herzegovina. But her latest offering is a powerfully written and intimate ethnography, a look inside the lives of those tasked with searching for and memorializing the missing service members from the Vietnam War. Oh my. Oh my. This book looks at the U.S. military and U.S. government's efforts to account for MIAs in the Vietnam War. Wagner began her research back in 2008, working closely with veterans, current military members and families, policymakers, forensic scientists, as well as families and loved ones of the missing. No mention of Vietnamese officials. Wagner explores the ways in which the new forensic technologies, including DNA testing, have helped to identify fallen soldiers, thus creating a new imaginative world in which the smallest body part can come to represent a whole body. Okay. Okay, the pub sheet notes that this is going to come out around Veterans Day. Wow. I wonder what kind of coverage this is going to get. My guess right now would be not much, but we shall see. I will certainly review it. Okay, so that is our mail. We end on a somber note. So What Remains, a new book. I don't know if you can even see these in the dark light. This is a new book about looking for Vietnam MIAs. Then we have Review Copy Not for Resale, formerly titled Barnum, by Robert Wilson, a big new biography of P.T. Barnum. Then we have Relative Fortunes, a 1920s Manhattan murder mystery. We have Ellie and the Harp Maker, in which a harp maker writes a novel about a harp maker. We have The Vale Conjectures by Karen Olson, about the two Vale siblings and herself. And we also have Retreat from Moscow by David Stahill. I have to find out where I have met this guy before. I mean, whether or not I have reviewed him. I know that I've read him. I think I've probably read more than one book by him. But I'm wondering if I've reviewed him now. And if I find such a thing, I will put it, if I remember, I'll put it in the information section down below. Although, as many of you have pointed out in emails to me, and as I try to point out myself in emails to you, keep in mind, you can email me at any time about any subject. I'm at st.donahue@gmail.com, and I would love to hear from you. I'm now engaged in so many email correspondence, and not just about books and writing either, but about a whole bunch of other things. Oh, one of you just lost a treasured dog of 15 years. And thought and wrote to me and said, I don't have anyone else that I know for sure has gone through this, and I'm wondering if you can help, and I can. Another person is writing me, wants to know if we can talk about losing her mother. Her mother is dying of a very aggressive cancer in her late 40s, and certainly will not be alive by the end of the summer. And this person wrote to me and said, you talk about your sainted Ma, so I know you've been through this. I had to tell her, no, you're actually going through something much harder than I went through. Me sainted Ma was very, very old. I'd known her for a very long time, and both of us had no illusions. She's not immortal. Her mind was clear until the very end of her life. And so, no, what I went through, believe it or not, as hard as it is to say, was much easier than what you're going through. And a whole bunch of other things. Not just serious stuff like that, but also funny stuff. And dog pictures galore. Pictures of books and bookcases galore. Even a few cat pictures. So, again, I want to stress, feel free to write to me at any time. This is not a usual YouTube channel where I am shutting down the gates and calling the police if you so much as step out of line. No, we're friends here. If I can help, or even entertain, feel free to write to me. But several of you have written to me and said that since I so often say in my videos, oh yeah, I think I reviewed this person, I'll leave a link down below, and then so often I don't, they have taken to simply Googling my name and whatever the book is, no matter what, even if it's something I don't mention on the channel, even something they just come across. If they just randomly come across something in a bookstore, or at a used book sale, or flea market, or whatever. A couple of people, in fact, more than a couple of people have emailed me and said, good God, you've reviewed a lot of books in your life. This is absolutely true. I have reviewed or written about, for Steve Reads, I wouldn't call them formal reviews. For Steve Reads, though, I wrote about a lot of books, and also I have reviewed a lot of books. an enormous number over the last however many years. So that always pays to do, even if I forget. In this case, it would be you would type in Steve Donahue and then David Stahill and just see what comes up. I will do that. But if I forget, feel free to do that. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now. And I don't think we're going to see each other again today. I think it's going to have to be tomorrow. But I'll be thinking of you while I'm grinding my teeth trying to pull punches with someone who doesn't deserve it. Who doesn't deserve it. Not because they've written a bad book, although I'm sure they have, but because if you put your book out into the world, you don't deserve pulled punches. You want pulled punches, go to an old-style vanity press that prints up 30 books in a box and send them around to your nearest and dearest, your friends and relatives, people who are already on notice from you not to criticize it. Fine. You want to do that? Fine. But if you want to put your book out in the world with an ISBN and international distribution through Amazon, I shouldn't have to be sensitive to you. But I believe I mentioned the money was good. So I will not lie. I will just, it's going to take more time than usual. But 2 half-hour-long videos is enough for one day, don't you think? We'll talk again tomorrow. Thank you, BookTube.